how's it going everyone? This is Nick at Stridewise.com, and today I'm going to be taking a very close look at the Dragon boot from Taft. So Taft is a direct-to-consumer footwear brand that was founded in 2013 by Corey and Mallory Stevens. The boots are all made in Europe with European leathers, and they sell exclusively online, which may mean that the products can come at a cheaper price point than many of their competitors. The brand's signature product is definitely the Jack boot, which is a pretty unusual looking boot that has a woolen upper that a lot of people are just absolutely crazy about. But this is the Dragon boot. Most of Taft's boots are made in Spain. These ones are made in Portugal. And the reason this is a really important shoe for the brand is that this is the first time they've made a 360-degree Goodyear welted boot. It's the first Goodyear welt they've come out with. It comes in a couple of different varieties. There's a dark leather kind called coffee, but this here is their rust, and this is the most popular version of the boot. So let's take a closer look. So first of all, this is a waxed suede outer that I really think stands out from other suede boots. Personally, I've never been a big fan of suede boots. I just think they look pretty unrefined. But the way this has been processed, I really think it just looks fantastic and looks slick, like sleek, which is a word I didn't think I'd ever use to describe suede. The leather is all hand cut and hand stitched. On the inside, there is a really nice leather lining that's got a light tan color, and it's very soft. It goes all the way to the end. There's a little bit of skiving on the inside, but nonetheless, I think it looks pretty good. The eyelets are an aged gold, which I haven't seen in a while, and I really didn't know how much I loved aged gold eyelets until I saw the way they look on these boots. I think they're just a really nice subtle touch that really brings it out. The sole is solid. This is a day-night sole. It's not some like smooth oak or leather or anything like that. But there is a bit of extra leather in between the outsole and the insole on the heel, which does look like it provides a bit more cushioning and a bit more support, which I think is pretty good. So besides that, I think the construction is really solid with these boots. I've seen a lot of Taft boots before. I tried out the Chelsea for a while, which I really just wasn't a fan of. I didn't think it felt very solid. It was just kind of it wasn't a very sturdy boot. But this, I can tell this is a pretty well put together boot. So the rust boot is made from a waxed suede, and the suede comes from CF Stead. That's a pretty well-known tannery in Leeds, England, that has a really good reputation for the quality of their suede. This particular suede is called the waxy commander leather, and the process with which it's made is called cape butt tannage. So during that process, the natural fiber structure is drawn together to produce this traditional buck suede appearance that looks rustic, but has really hard wearing properties. This is considered the strongest wearing suede. And while I've had bad experiences with suede in the past, I really was impressed with this one. I've been wearing these for a while, and they've barely picked up any damage. It really is very durable. It's still got this napped finish. It's dry in character, but it really does feel very firm. And the leather's waterproof as well, which is a nice bonus. Just in case you get the coffee version of this boot, that's the kudu leather. That's a type of antelope. And the toe cap and the counter are made of calf skin. So there's a bit of contrast between the toe cap and the rest of the boot in the coffee version, but in the rust version, it's the same leather all the way around. So when it comes to taking care of these boots, this is a waxed waterproof leather, so you don't need to add a bunch of products to make them waterproof. The Goodyear welt is water resistant as well. It's not technically waterproof, but the combination of the leather and the welting will mean that it's going to last pretty well in rainy weather and snowy weather. It just means you don't want to stand in a pond in these fishing all day, but besides that, pretty sturdy boots. Now, I did have a very long chat with Taft's customer service about the best ways to clean and condition these boots. When they're dusty and grimy, you just want to take like a soft brush or a suede brush to get rid of the dust and grime. If they're really dirty, you can get like just a soft cloth, dip it in some warm water, and just clean it like that. You just want to make sure you leave them to dry in a well-ventilated area at ambient temperature. When it comes to conditioning them, one thing I really like about Taft's customer care is that they just straight up told me their favorite brand, and it is Springyard Leather Wax Formula. That's all you need to use. That's the only product you really need to buy to take care of these boots. You want to put that on when you want to condition them. It's also not a bad idea to put them on after you've just given them a regular cleaning, because that might knock some of the wax off. Now, if you want to use a different product, they did say that a waxed oil blend will probably work okay. It's just that's very likely to darken the leather over time, which is just something you want to keep in mind. And if you want to put on your own wax or a different wax product, you just want to make sure it's a waterproofing wax in order to maintain the proofing on the sides. So that's really it. It's just Springyard's product is all you need for these boots. If you happen to get the coffee colored boots, you just need Griffin's Leather Conditioner and Restorer. That's the brand they recommended for that particular boot. Okay, so let's discuss this sole. Bam, this is a day-night sole. So that's a type of rubber, and it is, it's not quite as formal or classic looking as something like a stacked leather sole or an oak sole, but the big benefit of this is the functionality. It really provides a lot more grip than a lot of its competitors. I've worn these a lot in some inclement weather myself, and while with a lot of other boots, I find myself kind of skittering around into light poles. That didn't actually happen with this one, so that's something that I really liked about this boot. And again, yeah, maybe it's not quite so classic, but as you can see, it's pretty low profile, so it's pretty versatile. You aren't really going to notice it. It's not like a commando sole, for instance, which really you can tell that from the side of the boot. So I'm a big fan of the day-night sole. So then there's the rubber midsole. So it goes day-night, then a rubber midsole, then a leather insole. One thing that's pretty notable is that there is no shank in this boot. Most boots out there, at least most high quality boots at this price point, they're going to put in like a steel shank or sometimes a shank made from a different material. There's no shank in this. So that's why I personally found the arch support, wasn't absolutely fantastic, but the heel support was pretty good because not only is there, the day-night, the rubber, and the leather insole, but there's an extra layer of stacked leather, as you can see here, in the sole, in the heel itself. So the heel gets some special treatment, and that means that you just feel like your heel's a bit better supported, and it's a little bit better at absorbing shock as well. So, you might consider that a bit of a bonus. So what's it like to wear in the Dragon boot? It's not fun. I really had a lot of trouble wearing these in. They was just super uncomfortable for the whole first week I was wearing them. It was tight, they made my feet sore, I had to alternate them on and off. So that was not a great aspect of the boot, but of course a lot of people kind of like breaking them in like that because that means that the boot is really molding to the shape of your foot. And so there's meant to be that light at the end of the tunnel when you're breaking in boots that are this hard to break in. Nonetheless, I wasn't crazy about the fit with these boots at the end of the day, or rather at the end of the break-in period. Personally, everyone's feet are different, so you may have a different story, and I do have friends that have tried on these boots that think it's a great fit. Personally, for me, I found it a little bit tight around the ball of the foot as well. That said, the heel support is fantastic, but maybe because there's no shank, the arch support wasn't amazing either. My size is, on a Brannock device, I'm between 11.5 and a 12. In most boots, because boots tend to run large, I'm an 11D. So I'm an 11 in Red Wing and Thursday and Wolverine. I'm an 11 here, but I didn't have any options for width. Because for a second I was thinking maybe I just happened to order this boot maybe in a slightly too slim a size, but they only have one width available on the Taft boots. So that really is a big minus for the brand. Alright, so as far as the price goes, this boot here is $349. If you get the coffee version, it's the same price, which is notably more expensive than most of the offerings from Taft. The Jack boot, for instance, the one that's very, very well known, is $250, which I find a little bit overpriced for a direct-to-consumer boot that's Blake stitched and mostly made of wool. This is $350, so that is about what you would pay for a lot of big name competitors like a Red Wing Iron Ranger or Wolverine 1000 Mile and things like that. While it is a pretty high quality boot, this is a direct-to-consumer brand, so honestly, I would have expected, maybe $300 max for this, which is still a lot more expensive than other direct-to-consumer boot brands like Thursday's. So I don't know, that's something to keep in mind. So why would you want to get a pair of Dragon boots? Well, first and foremost, I've got to say, these are really sexy boots. I traditionally never liked suede that much. I just didn't find it very versatile compared to more traditional boots, and I just never really liked the idea of wearing fuzzy shoes. But this has just completely changed the way that I approach suede. It's this lovely waxed suede. It's waterproof as well. It's pretty durable. I haven't scratched it up very much while I've been wearing it. And just generally speaking, it manages to do this feat where it's more subtle than regular looking suede, but it still draws the eye. So I just think it's a really interesting thing they've pulled off here, and it just completely succeeds. The leather is fantastic. While I'm talking about the leather, this leather lining here, the calf skin, it's soft like butter. I love the way it feels getting in and out of the boot. The aged gold eyelets, subtle, but I'm a big fan of it. The heel I quite like as well. This extra layer in the heel there, it gives it some extra support, which I was a big fan of. The sole has a lot of traction. And then of course there's the Goodyear welt. This is Taft's first Goodyear welted shoe. A lot of people see this as the brand growing up, like a symbol of Taft coming into itself and starting to compete with the big name, more established brands. And honestly, I'm really glad they did. There are a few things I was not quite so crazy about with the Dragon boot. I wasn't crazy about the fit personally. I found it a little bit tight. This is a relatively narrow kind of boot in my opinion. It did stretch out as I wore them in, but I do think there are going to be a few people out there who wish they offered more widths. I think it is really it's a big blind spot for the brand that they only offer the D width. I really would like to see a wider variety there. While I'm talking about that, it is really hard to break these shoes in. I did break them in, I managed it, I tamed them, but those first couple weeks, they were not fun at all wearing these boots. But again, I did get there. The arch support isn't amazing. I would have liked these to have a shank, maybe that could have helped. But while the heel support is really good, there wasn't a lot of support on the arch either. Finally, with the price, $350, that is what you would pay for some of the larger brands that they are trying to compete with, like, you know, Red Wing, Wolverine, those sorts of things. For a direct consumer brand, I would expect these to be a little bit cheaper. All right, those are my thoughts on the Dragon boot from Taft. The full written review is in the description below, and make sure you subscribe. I've got a ton more boot reviews coming up.